How to roll up the ideal ranger panel, right? Is that right? Is that no, it's it's the acting and film panel. So give yourselves a round of applause for showing up. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to shut these doors because sometimes the people across the way they play music and it's distracting. The music's good if you're there, but if you're in a
Trying to act in here.
Acting and film, like that. So this is the way I run it. I'll have everybody introduce themselves and talk about their films and their credits, and then I'll ask them a couple of questions as you guys think of questions, and then after we do a couple rounds up here, I'll toss it over to you guys and just have at it. And we are out of here in an hour. So that's the way it works. No going over. So all right, let's just start at the end. Christina.
Hi, my name's Christine Salazi. I am a SAG actress and a producer and a director. I had a film that just played in the 12 p.m. block that I produced and acted in. It's called Total Party Kill. We ended up bringing home the Best Gamer short last night. Yeah.
Nice. What's it about?
It's about an all-women TTRPG game, and they have a cursed mini. It's very gory, so if you like gore, it might be right up your alley.
A mini Cooper? Is a mini?
Oh, like
a
a mini.
Amiibo?
Like a mini.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mini figurine. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Cool. Not a Mini Cooper.
Sorry. I was like, oh, cute. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Muir. We have a short film called Sky Guys that is playing in the sci-fi block tomorrow at 1 p.m. It's about a couple guys who are trying to catch a UAP, and in the same location, they're very determined, and they end up having to share turf, and it doesn't go well.
I'm Whitney Watts. I just moved to Chicago from Orlando. I'm with Big Mouth Talent. My director is actually in the front row next to my husband. And I'm married to a dungeon master, so that's got to mean something here. Like 20 years into a dungeon master is a long time. Horror's the name of my game. I come from Halloween Horror Nights, so I love very much special effects and how that really translates into everything you put on screen. So.
I think I have a friend who's represented by Big Mouth Talent.
Ooh.
I'd have to double check. But,
That.
I'm Sean Slamack, writer, director. I have a short playing on the horror short block tonight at 7:30. It's called Volatile. It's about a group of survivors in a post-apocalypse that are being terrorized by an entity that they cannot see or anything, but it sets off their dosimeters, the radioactive dosimeters or whatever, or radiation. Yeah. I was in the last panel, and I've got like 2 other panels after this. So,
Nice.
so if you come to all these panels, you're going to see me at every single one of them. But yeah.
Cool, and my name is Curtis Fortier. I have my web series 12 Sided Die. I have a bunch of shorts called Side Quests that we screen tomorrow at 10 a.m. I got flyers if you can't remember that date and time. It's got them all written down there. You can grab one. I have 1,000 of them in my apartment. I'm the lead actor in it. I wrote it and I executive produced it. So yeah, it's a romantic comedy. So that's it. All right. So let's just start. Let's just start with the basic question: what's the difference between film acting and any other kind of acting, like theater acting or even acting on television? We'll start right at the end with Christine and work our way down.
I mean, I think film acting is much more technical. I think that it is much smaller. If you come from a theater background, they're going to tell you to reel it in. They're going to tell you to make it smaller. I think also something that can aid you is understanding how to work with the camera. I think it's Tom Cruise who talks about being able to work with the camera, knowing where the camera is, and knowing, different angles for yourself that are going to make it more interesting. If you're just staring like this, it's not going to be as interesting as if you're like smoldering and looking that way and then looking back, so understanding where the camera is in respect to where you are and making sure that you're utilizing it in a way that's going to make it interesting for the audience. Yeah, and then I would say diving into different genres, knowing what that means. If you're in a romantic comedy, your acting's going to be very different than if you're in a horror. Your camera angles, again, are going to be very different as well. So I would say understanding the difference between every genre and what's expected of you as an actor in those genres.
I would say they're not. I would say they're not different at all. I think that good acting is good acting, and think ever since Marlon Brando and his method of acting the same for the stage as he did for the screen, and that gave way to modern acting as we have it now, I would say they're not different at all. Definitely being aware of the camera, being aware of lighting and angles is important, particularly with close-ups. Movement, your movement is bigger on stage, obviously. You want people to, you have to project a little bit more in the theater. You want people in the back row to get just as good of a performance and to hear you as you do when they're in a movie theater. But in terms of acting technique, I would say they're not different.
Well, like I said, I came from Orlando, and the film I'm in with, that's in the thriller block at 4, horror thriller, but Orlando, especially Florida, is a total commercial state. And commercial film, especially in that genre, you have to fit their mold. If, I don't really look like a normal, progressive mom. I don't think I'm selling Geico insurance. That's not really my thing. And so it was actually very hard because I know the quality that I was sending in, but it's all about the look and really what they are trying to sell. And film is really who you are. And it's really about the things that you don't want other people to see. And it's just like, I think of it when we're talking about what angles are, if we're just in this room, and I think about you're just having this conversation and someone just came in, and who you really are on the inside and letting that out, and someone just happens to see that and be a part of that really intimate moment, and you can show really who you are. And that's why.
So I'm kind of realizing I think I might have been not a great fit for this panel because I don't act. I'm not an actor at all. I was looking at it more like when I was looking at the panelists, I'm like, okay, as a writer-director, I could have some feedback perspective just acting because I have to direct actors, right? So I hope I'm not too much of a miscast here, but I do think that, kind of like what you were saying with the acting's the same. It's just a difference in projection or whatever, because there's a different way they'll direct a theater, they'll direct theater, and there's a different way how they'll direct a film, and even different types of films. There are films that are directed to be you look at something like The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers, and you compare it to something Steven Spielberg does. The way that the blocking and the setting and the actors are performing is different. But ultimately, I guess both of them, they're kind of the same thing. It depends on the what you're trying to do with it. But I think that's why the talent are just so great at what they do, is because if you're a good actor, it really I imagine the process is going to be similar whether you're in theater or you're on a stage, or if you're that's the same thing. If you're in theater or if you're in a movie. There we go. Or if, and I talked about this in the last block, if there's a oneer in the movie, it's kind of like theater because there's, you have to do everything in one take and in one continuous shot, and maybe that's my angle with this panel is, bring it all back to that, to the oneers. But
Yeah, the feel, that's a good point. The feel of acting when you're doing something for stage versus film, that is very different because you don't, film and TV both, it will cut it up into sometimes very small chunks, and you get to just rework that chunk over and over. And obviously you don't get that with theater. You get that during the rehearsal process, which is why a lot of actors love rehearsing. In terms of your actual, what you've trained to do for acting, anything, if you look at a really great drama on Broadway, it's filmable. And you would want to watch it. I think it's really sad that we don't get to film, that we don't, get to see Broadway dramas on film, because if you're not there, you miss it.
And while you're, let's talk about training a bit. Let's talk about Christine. We'll again work our way down. What is your training? What do you like? How do you like to train? Do you train? Have you trained? Just talk a little bit about your training and experience with that.
Yeah, I've been acting for 15 years. I've trained a lot, but I've trained specifically in the film area. So for me, I guess I'm the only person on this panel who feels that there's a difference. Training for film, you are training to make things feel real. If they're overacted, they don't feel real. So I feel like training for film, you're learning how to act for camera. And I do recommend doing that. I've trained with Margie Haber, I've trained with BGB Studio, I've trained with Strayon Acting Studios, I've trained with Robert DeVonzo. A lot of people who are very specifically focused on training for film specifically. So I would say whoever you go to, they're going to teach you different ways. Like, learn theater, it's very great for learning proper storytelling. But I'd say training for film is going to be different than going to a conservatory and learning theater and training in that regard.
Yeah, I trained in Santa Monica at the Joan Barron Studio, which is a conservatory, and it's Meisner. We studied primarily Meisner and also Stella Adler. I see what you're saying. If you're thinking of theater as, especially musicals, which tend to be very big and stylized, which of course there are films that are big and stylized that are that same, style of acting too. To me, I love drama on Broadway. I'm not as into musicals, so when I think of theater, that's what I think of, and to me, it's some of the best Broadway dramas that I've seen, and some of the best theater that I love is also very intimate, and and I think that's why actors love it so much. I've never understood why we don't have more theater in LA, because actors love doing theater, and they particularly love doing the intimate style of acting just for the stage. So yeah, I'm a big fan of training. I think doing improv training, which I've not done much of, but I think it's really great. Keeps you on your toes, keeps you listening and answering. I'm not as much a fan of endless scene study, because I think you need a basis, which Meisner and Stella Adler give a very good basis, very good foundation.
Also Meisner, based with one of a few coaches, different, Anna Bernier, Cast Studio, those were the real, and then truthful acting. But the thing that, especially with the Meisner, it's, when you're shooting a commercial, it's just a different play on who you are as a person. But when you're doing that scene work, and especially with you are really opening up things inside of yourself that you are learning how to bring that really to life, because those things are really hidden inside of you, and that's not what you want to show anybody, and that's not, people call masking and everything like that, and that really just helps you get to the core of who you are. And so when you're reading for your character, you can relate to them on every single level, and that's how it really comes across, as that is who you are at that point in time. You are who, the role is, I was Mrs. Claus, so I really had to my husband's retired military, so dealing with all of his trauma and when he's gone, but I'm really running the show, and all of that stuff I haven't thought about in 20 years. But when I brought that up, and it just came back out of me in a very natural and organic way, and that's what's really important, and that's why film is, it's just like this, catching this moment in time, and that's why you just fall right into these characters that you love.
And another director.
I didn't have any training with Meisner or Stella, or what are these called? But a part of my creative process is really I might write a character or whatever, but then my favorite part is collaborating with the performer. And I may have written the character, but really I don't want it to come off as something I wrote. I want it to be the actor or actress's character. At the end of the day, it's okay, you're getting this is now yours. You're gonna shape that into how you feel it should be acted, and it's a very collaborative process when I do a film. And I think that it's important to hear about the training and the studying that maybe the performer had done in the past. And as a director, you want to kind of play into that. You want to play into the best things about this person as a performer. Also, you want to challenge them too, but you can challenge them by filming in really crappy weather conditions, which is another reference to last panel I was talking about. But you know, I think it's really great to kind of be like, hey, you know, what's your history? What are your strengths? What do you like to bring out of a performance when you're in something? And I really like to get into that. And you know, what you want to do is you want them to be their best selves as a performer, and the way you do that is you tap into whatever training they had, you know, their strengths and all that, and you also help them grow. You wanna be able to, whoever you're working with, you want to do things with them that, you know, helps them grow as a performer or an artist possibly, and as yourself, you know. Every set I've been on, I'm learning something new, and a lot of that comes from the people that I'm filming. So,
How do you prepare for a role, whether it's commercial copy or you know, of the broad musical theater, or the theater, or even an intimate you know, drama film? How do you prepare?
I think that for myself, the characters that I dive into, it's always such a deep dive into the psychology of this character, what drives them, you know, what's their objective in every scene. I typically will read a script about 200 times before I actually film. Because at that point, you want to be in a place where the words are coming out so organically, and you're not thinking about, okay, what are my, what's my line or anything like that. You're just living in that moment at that point, and then developing layers to that, because every single person has layers to them. No matter what you say to somebody, there's experience and perspective behind that. So what is your character's experience? What is the perspective? And then how can you yourself as a person relate to that and bring pieces of yourself to it too? Because that's what's going to make your performance unique. So I would say I do a lot of prep work. I work a lot with the director. I ask a lot of questions. I'm never afraid to ask too many questions because I care about the performance, and I want to make sure I'm doing it justice for, you know, the people who are bringing this project together, and knowing that I'm just a small piece of this larger puzzle that everybody's piecing together. So I think asking a lot of questions and knowing exactly where you are, because you're never really shooting continuously. So knowing where you are in that story as your character, where you are in that character's overall arc, and figuring out how to bring that piece of them that day to the set.
Yeah, I agree. The director's vision is why you're there, so asking as many questions as possible and making sure that you are there to serve. It's his show or her show, so you're there to serve that vision. Reading the script over and over, know your lines like you know your name, because
Hold for sound. Sorry.
because when you're acting, the lines are the first thing to go, and then you're not available, you're not present, you can't respond. Your first read is always different than every subsequent read, so I think it's good to take notes as you go on your first read, just for your initial.
I was joking.
I think we're all extras in Indianapolis Fire. Yeah.
Take notes during your first read. How many people in here are actors or want to be? Oh, great. I can take notes on your first read, because that initial reaction to something, you might have thoughts that you don't have again, especially once your head kind of gets involved in seeing it and picturing yourself doing the part, picturing yourself saying the lines. And then, you know, and then you can start taking deeper notes when you're with your subsequent reads. What just happened? What do I want? Who do I want it from? How am I going to get it? What happens if I don't get it? All those basic questions. And yeah, you gotta know your lines. You gotta know them cold. You gotta know them backwards, because that's the first thing to go. And the minute you trip up on a line, you're not acting anymore. You're freaking out, and you're not available. And if you're on stage, you're screwed. Unless when you're on stage, you gotta know. It's better to know everybody's lines, because if somebody else goes up on a line, they got nobody but you and the rest to bail them out. So,
Yeah, I think the key is, like Rick keeps talking about, is collaboration. I mean, my director's front row, and how he had it, and asking the questions. Always ask questions. That's the most important thing, because how you it's, you just get a piece of paper and you're just reading it and this is the entrance. And for me, I grew up figure skating, so I'm a very like visceral, moving, I like how things like feel, and like costuming and hair and all that plays into who you are. Like, so when you are reading for a character, I always ask like, well, okay, it's the time of day, so how is this person walking? Where's the room? What am I wearing? What is the whole thing? Because even if I've got a full set of nails on, I'm talking different, you know, I'm talking with my hands, we're doing this, we're doing that. So it's a whole aspect, but you have to ask the questions because it really is a collaboration, because they have, the vision is there and you want to make sure you're doing them justice, but the collaboration is the most important part, and it's amazing.
And
Yeah.
the guy that likes to shoot winners.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Hey, that's a
Understand.
lot of collaboration.
Yeah, it's very fun. But I will say, in terms of preparation from the director perspective, you need to know you want to know what you want, right? You want to know, even if you want to collaborate with the performer to kind of see what they want to do with the character, that's great, but you need to know, and you need to, because if you don't know what you're looking for, the performer's not going to work well with you at all. They're going to be like, well, what the hell do you want? It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, why am I here then? You know? So it's very good to know what you're looking for and to be able to convey that to the performer as well. Because if you're feeling like, okay, they're doing a take and you're like, I don't like that. They're like, well, why? What don't you like about it? I don't know, do it again. And then it's like, okay, if you don't know what they don't like about it, then how are you able to like work together with that? So you need to be very sure with your vision. And if you're not sure about the vision, at least like be adaptable to where it could go. Because you could do something, you don't really know what you want with it, you're gonna let it like unfold on, just anyway. And if that's the case, just like you need to be able to adapt and roll with it then. Otherwise, there's gonna be a big disconnect between director and performer, and that's just not fun. So just, you gotta know what you want.
I want to go off something Elizabeth said. How do each of you memorize lines? How do you get because you have to show up, you got to have your stuff down, you got to have it down cold. How do you get those in your head? So it's like that.
I think the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to memorize things. It's a muscle, it's something that with repetition does get better. But I think that's going to be unique to every single individual person. I don't think something that works for me is necessarily going to work for you. I like to, again, read things over and over and over again. And I feel like if you understand why you're saying a line, it's a lot easier to memorize that line because now you know what your character wants out of the situation. But I would say that has to be unique to you, and you have to figure out what works best for memorizing things for yourself.
How I was trained to do it is you memorize by rote, because if you are acting it over and over and over as you're trying to learn your lines, you're just going to kill them dead. You can't do that over and over and over and over without it eventually affecting the performance. So you memorize them, you work them by rote. So meaning deadpan, meaning just say them with flat. You say them flat over and over with no emotion until you got them. I'm a very visual person, so another thing that I do is I write them. And that helps me be very dead also in my learning and be by rote, is I just write them over and over. And I get to a point sometimes where I will write, and this is just to help me do it faster, I'll write the first letter or two of each word in a line, which looks crazy, it looks like gibberish, but it's something that works for me. I'll write it a few times, and then because my brain is working faster than my hand, I'll just write the first couple letters of each word in a line, and I'll do that a couple times, and then it helps me learn them.
I'm basically a combo of both, because I do the same. I'm a very much read through, and then I take my husband, Dungeon Master. He's the king of yellow pads. He has so many. I feel like we're keeping them in business. So I keep like one or two just for myself, and I will write all my lines with no commas, no periods, no exclamation points, no nothing, where it's just the words. And then like for our film, it's like Christmassy, but it's very dark, because you don't really want to know what happens at the holidays to get things done. You don't want to know. So I like to, when I've gone through like writing a couple times, I like to pick music. And so when I'm running the lines, then I get that attitude. Then I get this air about me, like, okay, what am I really like? What's really smoldering underneath? And that is really like that's a really big thing for me too.
Also distracted. Like do it while you're driving on the freeway because that is, very similar to once you're actually acting with people and people are throwing stuff at you and people are doing stuff you didn't expect and it throws you off. So if you just say them out loud in your car by yourself while you're driving.
Or cooking with kids, or trying to do homework with kids, that's great. Or yeah.
Sean, how do you memorize lines?
I don't. I just write them. I don't have to memorize them. But so this short I did last year was a 15-page script, all dialogue. What I did with the actresses is we did a couple Zoom, I think it was Google Meet rehearsals. So we just got on there and we just did, we would go through the script and we would go through it. And I was so lucky for those two to have like already basically memorized it by that second like rehearsal. So then by the time it was on set, it was, and they were so good where if they didn't get a line exact, like they're good enough to kind of improvise around it. Which having that adaptability I think is really important with lines. Except I do know some directors are like, all right, you didn't say it exactly how it was written. You gotta do it again. Yeah. I'm very much more of like I want it to feel naturalistic, and sometimes the way someone says dialogue isn't gonna be how it was written, because that person, it's not gonna feel natural. So I think it's a combination of, you wanna be able to do rehearsals, you wanna rehearse as much as possible, and just make sure that the performers and yourself understand kind of what the story needs to be. And I think on the day of, when it comes to memorization, like, don't have too much stress. Like, as a director, you don't want a stressful set, because that could also interfere. If you're not classically disciplined, like it sounds like you are, or you, like, working with kids while doing lines and whatever, and it could really, like, mess up someone's lines even worse if you're, like, a really strict and, like, rigid director. But I think just having, like, a good attitude on set, a really nice, I don't know, just you don't want to be a dick, I guess. That's really good for a director to not be one, even though someone like Stanley Kubrick is so like idolized, but he was like really terrible to Shelley Duvall for The Shining. And I think it's important to stray away from being like that. Or even some directors that they'll just have you do the thing over and over and over and over. David Fincher, I kind of get where he's coming from, because he says, like, I have these actors for this amount of time, I'm paying this much for this space right now, so I'm just gonna keep doing it until we run out of time. But sometimes that's just like, that's unnecessary stress to put on the performers. And I think kind of, you want everybody to be happy on set, and you want them to be there. You don't want to be that jerk, because like you're probably not going to be Stanley Kubrick, so you're not going to be idolized in light of all of the crappy things you did with your performers. So
Kubrick recently did, or not recently, there was an article I recently read where he defended that, and he's like, yeah, they didn't know their lines. I do 30 takes. I get accused of doing 105. They didn't know their lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on indie film, there are directors who are collaborative and who don't mind if you improv a little bit. As an actor, my advice would be, do not ever assume that that's the case. Don't assume that's the case, even if you show up on the first day and they tell you that's the case.
Yeah.
Know your lines, don't change them. Don't change a word. Sometimes we'll have an actor who changes one word, they think it's no big deal, it killed the joke. One word can kill a joke. And particularly in TV, a lot of times, well, always, the showrunners are the writers. They care deeply about every word, every period. It has been run through committee, it's been run through their staff writers, it's been run through the studio. You do not think that you can just improv. It's not your show, it's not your script. There's been a lot of eyes on it, there's been a lot of reworking it. So I would say the best approach is to always know them cold and do not change them. And if there's something that you can't act, and this happens to me, there are some actors who can act whatever you put on the page. There will be the most unactable shit you've ever read. And you're like, I don't know how to say this. And there are actors who can do it, who can make anything sound real and authentic and can do it. I'm not one of those people. I've often run into stuff that I don't know how to act. I love line reads for that reason. And if you don't, and a lot of actors don't like line reads, but I do. And if you're someone who doesn't, I would say try to learn to love them because it's fantastic because somebody who will give you a good line read will give you a lot of information behind that line read, what your intention is, what the tone of it is, what the moment is, you know. But especially when you're working with someone like Fincher or, you know, Aaron Sorkin wrote your script, or David Mamet, one word can kill a joke. One word can kill a moment. So it matters.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to piggyback off that really quick because something I've seen, especially being on like, not even indie, it's like, I don't know what to call it, like zero budget, negative budget sets that I've been on.
Micro.
Yeah.
Micro budget.
No, smaller than micro.
Oh.
Quantum budget films. I've noticed a lot of people, and they're not classically trained actors or actresses, but there's some times where they're doing a line read, and sometimes I'll watch a short film that a buddy of mine did or had been a part of, and the actors, when they're doing their line reads, they'll throw in words like just, or they'll add a but where it doesn't belong, like the word but. And it's like it just throws off the flow of the dialogue, and like, you know, it goes from you saying something and then you're saying, like, I don't know if you understand the just thing, but there's this thing I notice in smaller budget films or shorts or whatever where you could tell when someone didn't read their line right because they're adding in something that doesn't feel organic, like just. And just is always I wish I had an example. Maybe you'll notice it later today. Someone will be talking and then they'll say just, they'll throw a just in there. You're like, well, it didn't need to be that. You know, like, I'm tired. I'm just tired. Like, you don't need that in it. It's I don't know. I think you need to be more lean about it. But yeah, just I think that kind of goes with what you were saying with
Just did it.
Yeah. Right, yeah. See, boom. That's why I'm not an actor. No, but you see, exactly. And, you know, when you're cognizant of it, you'll begin to notice it. And sometimes it gets through and makes it into the film. And then when you watch other things and you hear things like just in other words that are added in that didn't need to be added in, it's just something I think, you know, performers could be a little more cognizant of.
They're called handles. You don't want to have handles.
Yeah.
All right, let's open it up to the ground.
How does being, or let me rephrase that, how does having experience behind the camera as like a director or a producer help you become a better actor, or in your case, help actors?
I hate being on camera, even in pictures. So like, just complete, make me look like a dark void. You know? I'm just kidding.
We don't have that budget in post.
Yeah, you don't have that budget. I think that if I wanted to get into acting, I would have, having the perspective of behind the scenes just helps you understand what, like, the framework of what someone might be looking for. Visions are going to vary every single time, but there's still a template that you can kind of work off of, and I think getting the behind the scenes, but like I said, I don't want to act ever. I don't plan on it.
It's fantastic to have that experience. It can really change everything for you as an actor. I would say the best is being able to watch dailies and watching the edit and even editing, and editing your own takes. And I used to be real confused why famous actors who are so amazing hate watching themselves. There's not all of them, but some of them very famously will not watch their own stuff. And I thought, well, how sad, because not only are you not getting to see what you did, but you're not getting to see what the 100 or 500 other people around you contributed to making the project, and you're missing it. And what a bummer. But I think part of it is it's not just necessarily a vanity thing. It's because the experience that they had doing it that they loved somehow just didn't show up exactly the way they thought that it would, and that's partly because they're not in control of the edit. So they did 25 takes of something, and they're like, really, that's the one you picked? Really, that one? So when you have a chance to watch yourself and to edit yourself, or to watch somebody else edit and pick what you did. Also, there's all kinds of stuff that we do in life, like with our faces, that you don't know that you do until you see it on film, and you're like, do I do that in life? You know, because we don't walk around with a mirror, so you don't know. And again, a lot of actors don't like watching themselves for that reason. They don't want to become self-conscious, and that is a risk. You can become self-conscious, and then suddenly your acting's not as good. But if you can get over that, if you can push through that, if you can watch it enough, and just accept that sometimes your face is going to do stuff you don't like, and you got to let it go, it can help you be more aware of that.
I think it should be almost a requirement for every actor to at least be a PA on a set. That way you can see the bigger picture and see the way that so much of it is coming together because of how hard your crew is working. And that, like I said, you're just a small piece of that puzzle. I think it's easier for actors because you are the face representing a film to believe that you are bigger than what your actual piece is in the puzzle. And so I do think it is really important to get behind camera, not only to learn angles, and again, I emphasize angles, but just to understand that everybody is there for the same reason, and it humbles you a bit, and it does make you want to work a little bit harder for everybody else who's there as well. So I think it's really important to work behind camera for sure.
So I've got 3 kids. My oldest is about to be 18. My middle one is 11. She's theater, she's voiceover, she's commercials, she's stage, or she's film, and she's also TV. That's what I'm saying. So because of COVID, everything went to behind the camera. It used to be like you'd sit in, waiting rooms, and then it'd be like, oh, it's my time to go in person. And so when you go in for in person, you get the energy from the people in the room, and just having
Cast
that.
questions.
Yes, cast questions, just that it's a different energy. And so after COVID, everything went to basically virtual submissions. So with that being said now, everything you can do is an edit. So you have to do your own, like my husband hates it, right in the front, he really hates it, like taping for me, because he can't even think about, well, like I can look at the screen and be like, well, this is off, there's towel, I can hear the kids yelling in the background in the other room and all that other stuff, and he's just like, I don't see it. And I'm like, really? Like, you don't? But now that I'm working with my daughter all the time with all of her auditions as well, like I'm also teaching her how to edit herself. And like, hey, a lot of the times we do a first like audition edit, no sound, we're doing a face. How does our face look? What's our face doing? What are we like, are we doing the emotion, whatever you're acting for is actually coming out with no sound? And so for her especially, because she just had one where it was a really sad mini-series audition, but then she also just had, like a Broadway show audition. So it's like keeping those planets separate, because you can't bring that same like, woo, jazz hands, and then this is a really sad, and still have, because she just naturally has this really happy, open face, not like me. She's very much more joyful, naturally. So it's hard for her to actually come down. Like I'll even do like a sad check, like, hey, like, you aren't there, I need you to go like one step lower, and like going down levels with her for her like energy, or if it's like a theme park audition, like you gotta be like, woo, and like all over the place, and then, then it's cry sticks, or it's being in a place where you can just open those doors and you're just in it, but you can't, if the script is saying, you have to tell your dog, buddy, you're not gonna make it. But if she's still living in the, buddy, you're not gonna make it. Like you have to be able to edit yourself, and I think that's what COVID has really changed everything, because you are your own production, PA, everything on the other side, trying to get that audition in. So it's a lot, but it's so worth it, and you really do, carrying how much it costs on the other side and that weight, and giving the grace and the respect for the other side of the camera and everything on the other side of that camera for all the entire team that got you to be on the other side really matters, and it's important.
Yeah, no, just to go off of that, whenever I get an audition now, I treat it as something sacred, because I know all the bullshit that went into just to where somebody wrote a script and produced it, got money, and then to give you an audition.
Yep.
That there's so much behind that, to have actors come in and just treat that like nothing. It's like, you have no idea, what do you do, huh? Anyway, so yeah, I 100%.
Hi, I'm Deja. Thank you for everything you guys have been sharing. So I have a question. Oh, and also kudos to raising a family and doing everything. I got 3 too. So something you said, film, it's about who you are on the inside and stuff you don't want them to see. I really thought that was beautiful. So my question's kind of around like marketing, branding. So I would love to hear how you have taken, how to show who you are, like through your work, that your marketing work, your demo reel, your headshots. So I've been acting for 20 years, so obviously things have, you change from how you were in your 20s, 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
but so I'm getting ready to move into a bigger market, and I'm really excited because I'm empty nesting. And
Ooh, man. Woo.
so I would love some advice on how to identify what's on the inside and bring it out in your
Where are you
marketing.
moving?
LA.
Wow, well, that's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, if you
Stay off the 405.
And I'm looking at Margie Haber's work.
Yeah, highly
classes.
recommend,
Yeah.
definitely.
if you have any like headshot like photographers that you guys recommend out there that you like,
Joanna DeGeneres.
that's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, the work that you do to prep and put your demos and to
Photography.
identify that and then share that. You know what I mean? I think-
Headshot.
Yeah.
Headshot's the first in the door.
I think
Like your type. I don't know if that's
you
the
want to
word.
figure out, I mean, here's the thing, it depends on what you want out of your acting career, right? If you want to be in television, definitely figure out your type, because you're gonna do under fives. That's basically just gonna be what you look like, and can you deliver a line properly. So I'd say figure out your type, and there are classes in LA that you can take specifically for that. But also you can just kind of ask your friends. And then you want to get headshots that give that vibe. You don't want to dress up as a character or anything like that for your headshots, but something that gives that vibe. And then I'd say for myself, I didn't like what I was being typecast as, which is why I started my own production company and started directing my own stuff, because I was like, that's fine, but as an artist, it's more important to me that I'm putting out the work that I care about, which is absurd comedies. That's what I wanted to make, that's what I wanted to act in. So I started making those myself. So I would say figuring out what you want out of your career as an actor and where you want to land is going to be really important, and then building from there.
I think for me it's a really great example. Like I wish I could show you like a slideshow, like being from living in Florida for so long. Like it was just a commercial. Like my first headshots we had when we moved. So like it's just like yes. Oh, I sell toothpaste. Yes. And it's just like, but I just kept getting this feeling, like overwhelming feeling, like everything I'm doing is great. It's just, it's not me. Like, it's just not really who I am, and I can't, like, I remember I was in this one intensive, and we had a group of people, and it was like, I think it was before COVID, and everybody's just dressed, just come in as you are, whatever, and we went around the room, and they're like, who are you? And you would just ask some random people in the room, like, who do you look like? Like, what kind of person are you, Oh, you're a dad. Oh, you could be a doctor. And then when they got to me, like, no one said anything. And I'm like, I'm a mom, I promise. And like, no one, they're like, well, she could be a sister. I think she could be a sister. She could possibly be a lawyer. Like, there's nothing, well, for all the things that I really am in real life, like, that was so telling to me that I knew I was right. Like, my intuition was like, I'm just not that type, and that is totally okay. And once you like free yourself from trying to fit in these molds that, especially for commercial work, really forces you to go into, and then just be who you are. And now that, like we moved since we're in Chicago and I've had these headshots, I literally sent it to our very first agent in Florida, the one that also my daughter had, and she was like, it's you. And I was like, and that meant so much, like, especially, I think the headshot photographer I had that she recommended, I sat in the chair in the studio, and he was like, wow, you do a lot of villain work, don't you? And I'm like, I'm just trying to do a commercial headshot for TV. Like, I'm just trying to do commercials. He's like, you really do a lot of villains. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, well, I mean, that's really who I am on the inside, but I don't want you to see that, so like, let's basically wash all of that out of me, so I'm just like, yes, and it, be you. Like, even hearing your story about your empty nester with 3 kids, like, be you. And don't let them, like, try and push you into, like, your body's gonna tell you, like, this isn't right. Like, Kyle, my audition, I was in a psychotic mental breakdown, like, about to kill someone, and he was like, that's so Mrs. Claus, I can't even, like, but that was just, it felt so good to be me. I love makeup and all this, like, fun stuff, and that's also me. Like, I can be married to that guy, I can have 3 kids, I can be all these other things, and it's not, you aren't just that one person, so be all those things that you love about you. And that is what is so important. And find an amazing photographer and be you. Like, be you. Because your story, it already sounds awesome, so I'm here for it.
You, sir, yes.
Yeah, to help answer her question, you're the director. How would you, in a very two-dimensional way, not getting into depth of character, how would you cast her and each of them in something? What's your just knee-jerk, oh, you'd be great for this?
Typecast right now.
Well, it depends. What's the project? What am I making?
You're making a horror movie in a nuclear waste factory.
Nuclear waste factory.
There you go.
Modern day.
What you,
Here, you give me main character final girl energy, because there's like a sweetness to your voice, so it makes me think like, okay, you're good. You look like a villain. So you'll
There's
be,
nothing wrong with that. Please, there's
So-
nothing wrong with that.
in
There's
these
not.
types of these types of cases, like, well, okay, so nuclear waste, whatever. There's some construction that's going to be happening there, so they call in an industrial hygienist, who your job is to go in and you kind of like survey the area to make sure the levels are at a point where we could get people in to carry it out. So you're the lead, you're doing that. You're her manager, you're like a supervisor role. You're kind of there with her to help assist with the project. It's a little more intense because it's a nuclear waste facility, so it could be really bad.
Nice.
You're one of the entities that come out.
I'm Chernobyl.
Yeah, you're
Like, it just Chernobyl.
So I think that you'll, that's where you're at, and you're one of the supervisors at the facility. Maybe you're a manager. You're like the plant manager if it's like a nuclear power plant. You're one of them, and you probably die. You know what? You both die. You survive by.
Killing
you just,
the entity?
Skin of her teeth.
Yeah, no, well, you can't kill the entity. It's unkillable. It thrives on radiation, so you're able to get out of there by, you just, I don't know, you do something with lead, and then you get yourself out of there, but you're able to do it because you being a little more fresh into the role of an industrial hygienist, you're able to kind of like look at things differently than like your supervisor does. And her being a little bit more tenured, she doesn't see the signs that something's wrong, and that leads to her dying a horrible death. But you make it and you survive. So yeah. So you're
the essence is what?
The what?
Like the question is the type.
Yeah. So like you're like I was just going through like the characters that I would cast for it. Yeah. So you just give me like, I don't know, like main character, like good person energy. So you would be like the
you're like a
the
hero
final
and
girl.
a supervisor and an authority and a representative. So you could instantly get cast as like, easily in TV as like a government person that got sent out to do something. You know, like who's the, Octavia Spencer was complaining because she was a nurse like for like 14 years. You know what I mean? Like if you can find
You give me like
niche that it-
purity, I guess, and something like purity would be, I would have like a role for like I said, like final girl in the sense of a horror movie.
the good guy.
Who's the good guy?
Yeah,
the
the
good
good guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
energy,
Sincere.
aura energy is, yeah.
Yeah. Sincere and kind.
Like, you're
and-
very
and-
trustworthy. Like, I would be like, hey, we're gonna go, like, at the bar, like, we're just gonna, like, I would just open up to you naturally.
But yo, I'd be the girl that if someone was trying to mess with my girl, I would knock him the fuck out.
That's
Yeah.
that's the 3. That's
And that's
the
how
three.
you escape at the end because you are tough on the
Exactly.
inside. You're able
That's
to get
right.
out of there, yeah.
And I think we
Thank
got
you.
the quote of the panel, you do something with lead. So,
Yeah, you do something with lead, you figured it out.
I've poisoned the Botox.
young lady in
You
the,
make
in the
boxing gloves out of lead
Yeah,
and you just punch them.
Yep, good job. I poisoned the breast implants.
My question is, in your opinion, how important do you think it is as far as your residence and location that you're based out of, now that so much has become self-tape and virtual submissions? If I completely understand the Orlando base, because that's where I am, and
Oh, where are you at?
Market. So
Where are you in Orlando?
in Claremont.
Oh, we moved from Windermere. That's where we're going. Oh, hi, girl. Yes, yes. No, especially I'm going to talk to that specifically. My daughter did her first commercial at 6. I've done commercials, like I said, I've done like theme park, like a lot of theme park stuff specifically. But our agent was great, and I loved her. It's amazing. But especially for my daughter, I asked. I was like, hey, she's really going in. She's a vocalist. I'm cool at a karaoke bar. So I was like, I think we need to like kind of figure out what we want to do next for her. So I asked her and she's like, no, do it. And so I started asking around, and we found an industry night, and she ended up signing for the team in New York, but they're also here in Chicago. And so I mean, we were pretty busy. Like I would say we have a lot of auditions, and just getting a lot of that stuff, just like, hey, take this today, take it tomorrow, like. But the amount of work, I will say, especially for her, since we moved to Chicago, has been never in a million years did I ever think she would be getting the amount of work and what she's being asked to audition for since we moved. So Chicago, I mean, we moved family and all the other, things. I grew up in Wisconsin. I got a little bit of a bag accent, but, it comes out when I can. But moving here specifically even for her, do it. If you want to keep in commercials and that's what you want to do, stay in Florida. Florida's great. But if you want to do more, come and do more and take that move. I know that was really it worked out for a reason. We moved 18 times. I mean, yeah. We hit oceans though. He was in the Navy.
Oh.
So at least we had oceans.
Okay.
We had Hawaii, California, all that
Reasons.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
Yeah. So
do you guys want to weigh in on that? Elizabeth or Christine?
take the move.
I've been living in Los Angeles for the past 10 years, and I'm actually moving out. I feel like a lot of stuff has left LA, which is interesting. And so who knows where the next new hotspot is going to pop up.
Yeah.
I do feel like you can do it from so many different places. If you can make those connections in different cities and find agents and managers in different cities, and you can, if you can fly out there and book something and work as a local, then you have a lot of opportunity. I do think in the digital era, there's a lot of opportunity to act from multiple different places, and I don't think you have to be in LA or just New York anymore.
Where are you going?
Back to Massachusetts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boston or?
South Central. Yeah.
You sir.
Massachusetts.
I was just curious if you could kind of expound upon the audition process for each of you, like the sort of work that you do, how you prepare for it, especially when you have a quick turnaround. And then conversely for you, what makes self-tape stand out for you? What keeps your interest in, how you sort of decide on who to keep and who to reject?
Honestly, I haven't really done, for my projects, I haven't really done too many auditions at all. I seek out the performers. I kind of watch some examples of what they do, and then I hit them up about if they'd be interested. So I actually haven't really, gotten too deeply into that. But what I look for, I can't even describe it. I'm like, I have these characters in my head, and I'm like looking through headshots on Backstage, or I'm looking at a friends list of people in the city. Like Chicago's got a really deep filmmaking networking base there, community, and I'll see someone, I'm like, you know what? I think they'd be a good fit, and then I'll just look on their like reel, and if it's like, okay, yeah, they're pretty good, then I'll reach out. And then I'll maybe ask them, hey, can you do a line read? But at that point, I've already kind of been like, yeah, I'm good to choose you, so not so much auditions, but.
For me, like the tight turnarounds are really hard. Like, it just is. I know especially my daughter's like, she's doing a lot of voiceover right now, and I'll get it at 2 o'clock, and it's due at 5. But it's like, do it, and we live in Chicago, so it's 2 o'clock Central, and it's due at 5 o'clock Eastern, which is great, because she's both stuff. So I'm like, we're gonna be great. So that's why I just tell V, I'm like, this is what they want you. Like, let's just let it rip, and then just kind of it takes the edge off things. Those tight turnarounds are hard. But I feel like, to your thing, it's be you. Like, even when you're talking on a slate, it's like, hi, I'm Whitney Watts, I'm 5'3", I'm from Chicago. Or, just bring who you are, like, right from the gate. Or if you've got to read and you're already kind of in that character, say it as who she is. I did a figure skating film, I grew up figure skating, and I literally channeled all of my 90s, like, coaches into one, like, mega villain. And when I did it and everything like that, and she's like, I saw it, she's like, you were literally my coach I had, like, when I was going through, like, my junior, like, titling and everything. I was like, that's perfect, because that's exactly who she wanted, but I could, I had that on the inside, and I just brought it out. That's what is important.
Yeah, the slate's real important. Sometimes people will just kind of throw that away, and that's a big
So
mistake
true.
because they've got so many to watch and they're so fast. When I worked in casting, which I've done some of, and it was real eye-opening for me. I did it real early on, and I would have the most massive pile of headshots that I had to go through in a very short amount of time, and I would do this. It was really that fast, which felt terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh. I would see famous people sometimes, people that I recognized in this pile of headshots, and I'm having to go through them this quick. Your slate is huge because a lot of times they will decide if you're right or wrong before you even do a line, just based on your slate.
Yeah.
So yeah, figure out what you're reading for and really bring that into the slate.
Just
And
real,
then also,
everybody knows what a slate is, right? Everybody got, okay.
yeah. And then what's cool about self-tape is you can put your sides up where they, where they're off screen, which is great. Because I would say if you're in the room reading live, like, don't be afraid to look at your sides. A lot of times you're tempted to, you want to be off the page, but you had, an hour to learn it, right? Or overnight, and you're exhausted. And you worked all day, and then you're trying to learn it at night while you're trying to go to sleep. So, but you don't want to pick them up. You want to stay, with whoever you're reading with, but you got to look at them. It's better to have them and check in with them than to be struggling for your line and you don't want to look at them. But with self-tape, you can just put them up behind the camera and it's easier. So.
I've cast for a lot of projects and I've done a lot of auditions myself. Usually, whoever's looking at your tape, they know within the first 3 seconds if you're right or not. So I would say the thing that you want to focus on is making sure that you are coming in with your character with a strong decision and choice about that character, and you are confident in it. Because your confidence is what's going to kind of pop off the screen for anybody. If you come in and you're kind of like, I don't really know, and you're not really present, within the first 3 seconds, it's like, okay, next. So having those first 3 seconds is really important.
Also, flip can be real cool. People get whole jobs this way. Like you'll see Aussies, come in who are, and they're taking all the American jobs, and you're like, what the hell? But it's partly because of that. They walk in the room and they've got their accent and they're they're friendly and charming. And then all of a sudden they flip and they're doing a perfect American accent or imperfect. Nobody cares. But it's that flip. So if you're reading for a villain. But your slate is like, I'm a charming dude. You definitely want me around. I will make life fun. I'm a nice, prompt, punctual guy. I'm gonna be easy to work with. If that is your 3 second slate, you're gonna like me. And then you do a flip instantly, and you're doing your villain, character. That can get you a job too.
And on the thing about COVID, one of the things also was taught, if you get an audition, get in as soon as you can. There are so many I see that just are waiting, or they forgot, or that's all they're always saying, no one confirmed, no one said anything. If you can do it, confirm. As soon as you get it, and then send your agent, yep, it's done. And just send the receipts, send everything you're doing, yep, I sent it in, it's done. So that way, in case, because sometimes there are mistakes or something's happened where you're like, oh wait, no, I did like send it in, or things happen. So be prompt, be punctual, and turn it in as soon as you can.
And along with that, we are being very punctual. It's 2:30. Thank you very much for coming to the Acting in Film. Keep it going for our panel.